Yeah, so we approach advertising from a very scientific way, which is kind of through my engineering background. I love to understand like really the microscopic unit economics of every single part of advertising. What does a click cost? How do these clicks transfer into a sale or a lead? What are the conversion rates? And like mad scientists, we optimize every little microscopic thing in our advertising campaigns that we run for our clients to a point where we can manage millions of dollars profitably for them across 30 different industries and niches. Not only e-commerce, not only like one specific niche, but many wide range of niches, which is something I'm super proud of.
Dean Gravina here, and welcome to the Freedom Podcast. I'm here with Konstantin. Good to see you, man.
Thank you so much for the invite in my own very podcast studio. And I just want to say I really appreciate you coming along and asking me a few questions. I always wanted to share my story as well.
Yeah.
As part of the Freedom Podcast, I want to encourage and inspire people to chase their dreams, financial freedom, online marketing. That's what I really am super passionate about. This has completely changed my life. And very thankful for you coming and asking me a few questions as well.
Yeah, and thank you so much, man, for setting this all up. It's a lovely, lovely environment for it. And I want to just ask you, man, like, how did you even get started here, with advertising, and like, just run me through the journey. I want to know from start to now.
Wow, it's a pretty long question. But it's actually something I've been always asked all the time, like, hey, where are you from, right? Like every country that I actually grew up with, I had an accent, so naturally everyone is like, hey, where are you from, where are you from? Originally, I was born in the Soviet Union during the collapse of the great Soviet Empire, which is funny to say now, but back then it was a very challenging, very tough time for my parents. They were both engineers. Jobs were scarce. They were trying to provide for myself. And during that time as well, imagine you'd had $1 million saved up, right? Right now in Melbourne, you can buy a beautiful house for $1 million.
100%.
Back then, due to the hyperinflation, what ended up happening was you'll just wait 1 or 2, 3 years. That $1 million is worth, you can only buy a car for it.
Wow.
And something you can ask all Eastern European people is what people do is like they work and they save up their money.
Yeah.
Either under a mattress or a pillow. Like that's what usually people do, and that's what a lot of people have been collecting their savings back then, working like 30, 40 years in a factory, saving up maybe 10,000 rubles in total. And during the 90s, that money just completely dissolved. And it was a very challenging time. My father lost a lot of money. Luckily, he had US dollars as well as a hedge, but not every person had that back then, or they were informed that that potentially could happen. So that kind of experience was the straw that broke the camel's back for my parents. It was a realization for them to try to find opportunities elsewhere outside of Russia, outside of the Soviet Union, because it was just so challenging. They wanted to provide for me. They wanted to secure their own career paths and provide for themselves. And that's when there was no internet back then, right? And that's when my dad decided to go to the library to find like which countries potentially can we immigrate to. And he's been like going from country to country, and eventually they chose the Netherlands.
Okay. So you basically went, born in Russia, moved to the Netherlands. And how old were you when you moved?
I was 5 years old.
You were 5. Okay.
And like a lot of things have happened. I don't want to like go completely like the whole growing up in the Netherlands, but 15 years kind of like fast forwarding.
Yeah.
I went to school, high school, went to university. I didn't really know what to do with my life, what career path to secure, what opportunity there was. So I went down the traditional path, and my father, he, like a Russian man, he always said, you have to become an engineer. Right? That's what my parents were, that's what my father advised, and actually was very passionate about aviation. So I decided to pursue an engineering degree in aviation. And ended up securing a very high-end, prestigious job, so to say, at Fokker Services.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the business?
Yeah. No, I have. But you're going to tell me the story.
Yeah, so it's an aircraft manufacturer. It's a bit of a funny name, but it's an aircraft manufacturer comparable to Airbus, comparable to Boeing, and they specialize in airplanes manufacturing in the 100 passenger range. So a little bit like smaller than the usual Boeing and Airbus airplanes that you fly with. And I was like sales rep and customer service rep at that particular job.
Yeah.
But then I realized that was like also because of the company culture, everyone was like super old. Like it was literally like 50, 60 years old, like a man and woman. I didn't really resonate. It was an amazing company, but I felt like I have to do something else.
Yes.
I was like working in an Excel sheet. I had so much energy. I wanted to do something else. And at the time, two of my friends, they traveled to Australia on a working holiday visa. So you can travel, you can party, you can explore a lot of different places, you can earn money as well. And that's what I decided to do and travel to Australia with a single plane ticket because that's all I could afford back then.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And that's such a journey just to even think about taking that leap, because you may have just heard from a friend, hey, let's just, we're having a good time here. Tell us about your experience, here in Melbourne, like, from when you took that flight. Where did you touch down? What was the first thing that you did? And then how did you sort of make your way?
Yeah, it felt like a very natural step for me as well to leave everything behind because that's what my parents did as well when they went from Russia to the Netherlands. I left everything behind. That career path was like kind of like my final semester during my engineering job. And I was like, okay, am I going to proceed working here or just like let it all go? And I decided, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I can always come back to the company anyway if this year doesn't work out. And then when I came to Melbourne, the first thing that I had in my mind was to buy a bicycle, to buy like a cycling bike. Because in the Netherlands, I don't know if you've traveled, but it's like 90% of the transportation is through bicycle.
Yeah. I've been there before, actually. It's also like that in Germany, I think. In Berlin, everyone's on a bike. They've got a big bike lane.
It's crazy. I think every person owns like 2 or 3 bikes.
Yeah.
And with that mindset, when I came to Australia, I was like, I'm going to cycle everywhere. There is Boeing here in Melbourne too. And I thought like I'll be applying there. I'm going to get a job, all this kind of stuff. And I've been cycling from place to place. I didn't realize that the distances are absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Right. One time I went to Mount Waverley. It's like eastern part of Melbourne. It was like 35 kilometers one way with the bicycle. And then I went back and I was like cycling like crazy. And in the end I just end up giving up on the dream of securing a really good career path here and signed up as a street and shopping center fundraiser.
Okay. Yes. So, I mean, so getting to that though, what were some of the things that you actually did before? Because I remember you sort of, you told me you did a bit of banana picking, avocados. Do you want to touch on that and how that actually influenced your decisions to do what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's been a huge thing. I would say cold outbound has been an absolute lifesaver for me, and literally that's the way I've been always been able to get all the opportunities in my life, by knocking on someone's door and inviting myself to the party, really. And that job, it was a very tough job. Like you're speaking to 100, 200 people a day. The rejection you get is not like online or through an ad or through cold email. Like it's going to be in your face. People are going to ignore you. They're going to say weird things. And this was a very tough experience, but it was a blessing in disguise because through this work, I was able to meet my beautiful wife. And the moment I saw her, and this usually I was doing that to sign up like a very old woman, like an 80-year-old grandma or something. I was approaching like this grandma and say, hey, do you want to dance with me? Like, in a very cheeky way. And the grandma started like, ah, and then they sign up for the charity, like $30-50 a month. When my wife passed by, something special, something magical happened. It was like one of those synchronicities where you instantly vibe with a person. She walked past and she was like very She's like smiling, and the way I stopped her, I asked, "Hey, do you want to dance salsa?" Which was super random, but she appeared to be a dancer herself, and she stopped,
Yeah, yeah,
and we started speaking, and it was an instant sort of connection that we had, and since then we've been for many years together.
yeah, man. And sometimes just the universe just happens, right? People just connect. You asked her that question. She was a dancer. Like,
What's the coincidence, right? What's the chance?
yeah, you know?
What I love saying is like the universe connects people at the right time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or even like business partners, or back then I was seeking for beautiful relationship as well, and that's what the universe gave us as well.
100%.
But the challenge was, coming back to your question, the challenge is because of the visa restrictions, I could only stay for 6 months at a particular company.
Yes.
So while I was in Melbourne, I couldn't stay longer in the company, even though I was doing really well. And my visa was running out as well. So there was I was getting pressured from two sides. I couldn't no longer work for my employer, who I was doing very well. And at the same time, I only had 6 months left in the country. But there is this one rule in the Australian, kind of like in Australia, the government allows you to stay for another year under condition that you work like a slave, like picking fruit in a very remote place in Australia. So if you work for 6 months, like doing any kind of farm work,
Yeah.
you can go for another year. And that's when I went to a tropical place. It's nearby Cairns. I don't know, like people know it, but it's a tropical place where there's a lot of banana trees, mango, avocado. That's where all this stuff grows, right? And you have to be there. Like you can't just do it like nearby Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, and that was like a huge, punch in the face. The labor was incredibly tough. We were starting like at 6 a.m. all the way like till 3, 4 because it's so hot during the mid of the day. And on some of the farms, we had to work on like huge ladders, like 2-meter ladders. And the rule was that, and I'll include a picture, but the rule is that you have to stand on the second highest ladder with a huge bag to pick the fruit. So imagine you're standing like 2 meters. You have to stand on the second highest ladder.
Yeah.
The ladder is shaking because it's wet soil. Like you're not putting it like on a concrete ladder. It's not like in the city. It's wet soil, leaves, all this kind of stuff. So the ladder isn't stable. And then you got this bogan supervisor who was constantly shouting at you, "Hey mate, you have to keep going, mate. You have to go faster." Right? So they're putting pressure on you as well from that side. So you have to go faster on the second highest ladder. And yeah, we had people falling out of the ladder, falling off. It was pretty crazy.
Crazy, yeah. I think like a few times you've mentioned like dealing with pressure from two sides. In that example, you were talking about being on the ladder. That's pressure, right? And then having someone yelling at you, and how has dealing with this sort of pressure over time sort of, really helped you in your business journey? I think that's what I'd like you to because I think a lot of people want to know the answer to that, because it's not just one day you can run a business, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in hindsight, I feel like those moments that have really strengthened my character, like working on those farms, doing fundraising, those have been really the fundamental, because what business really is it is a competition, and you have to be very strong and you have to be really tough. You can be in the same space as everyone else, but you can still win. And like that's the thing that I learned as well after doing this farm work for 6 months. Effectively, I earned my stripes. I could work for another year and stay here for another year in Australia, which is something I really wanted. I loved the country from the very beginning. But then I just realized the career path and everything I've been studying for the last 25 years, school, high school, university, getting the degrees, it's not valid in the marketplace. There is no demand for majority of the skills. And that's why I'm so passionate about everything that I do and trying to help young men, young women to realize this, is that 90% of the skills and university degrees and everything like that, there is no demand in the actual marketplace, right? The engineering degree that I had, there's maybe 5,000 students across the world, right? Like, I don't know, like 5, 10, 15,000. But the amount of jobs that there's maybe like 500 placements.
That says, yeah, I mean, it's competition, right? How do you get used to being in competitive markets? Whether you're a student or if you're working 9 to 5 or if you're running your own business, I think it's being able to deal with that pressure. Is what's going to, elevate you. I want to ask you, when you were doing the charity work, there was a moment that you were speaking to me off this podcast when you were obviously trading your time for money.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you had a bit of like a two worlds at the same time. In one world, you were working for the charity, and then your phone was going off with notifications. I think a lot of people wanted to really hear about how you're feeling and how that influenced your next decision.
Yeah, and it's really I got squeezed from two sides once again, because when I arrived in Melbourne after this farm work, I was kind of like, I didn't have anything else besides this fundraising experience, so I went back into it. I had to make money, pay rent.
Yeah.
I was with my wife at the time, and we had to make something happen. And while I was working in this, like, you can say, career path, but there was no real end in sight. Every time and I love the charities that I work for, and it was like amazing, but each day starts completely from zero, right? So you get like 3-5 subscriptions a day. The next day you start from scratch.
Exactly.
Right, and you can do that job, and some people have been doing it for many years, but it's not a thing you want to do long term.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, I have to do something online, because my parents are in the Netherlands, my wife's parents are in the USA, I'm here in Australia. I have to do something where I don't have to apply for a job to get income. And that's when I started doing e-commerce dropshipping. I stumbled upon on YouTube, everything, like, YouTube has given me so much, which is another reason why I try to share and like give free training online and do all these podcasts as well. It gave me so much, because I learned a very valuable skill, which is selling through Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And I was launching ads at 6 a.m., going to the fundraising gig. It started at 9 till 5:30. I came home around 7:30. I checked the ads that I launched at 6 a.m. and that's how it started to snowball. And 8 months later, while I was at the same train from like 7 till like 9 a.m., I was looking at my phone. Ching, ching. You've done Shopify. You had Shopify store as well. Yeah. So and the amounts like 100, 150, 200. Yeah. By the time the day started at 9 a.m., we already had $1,000 in sales with like 20-25% profit margins.
Yeah.
And some months I crushed $100,000, like $100,000 in sales, US dollars, which was absolutely ridiculous. And I was able to manage it with only one person, a VA, myself as the advertiser, while working 9 to 5 as well. Right, so a lot of people try to quit everything and start. You don't have to. You can start at a small scale, see if you like it, see if it works, and then you can drop everything and proceed. Yeah. And this was the fundamental experience that I later needed to manage over $10 million in ad spend, working with huge brands like ClickFunnels. Imagine Russian guy, like Russian is my first language, writing copy for ClickFunnels, which is like a top direct response software brand, which is just, out of a dream. Yeah. Living right at the beach, pilot license right here, and 3 passports. I'm a citizen now of Australia, the Netherlands, and Russia. All of the three times. Yeah. And I'm just incredibly grateful and thankful for this life and all the chances and opportunities that I had.
That's amazing, man. And I think, with all that, I think that's just an amazing journey. I want to now touch on, let's talk about your services that you offer and how this experience that you really had over the past years has influenced your services that you're providing today. Because I think you have a very unique take on everything.
Yeah, so we approach advertising from a very scientific way, which is kind of through my engineering background. I love to understand like really the microscopic unit economics of every single part of advertising. What does a click cost? How do these clicks transfer into a sale or a lead? What are the conversion rates? And like mad scientists, we optimize every little microscopic thing in our advertising campaigns that we run for our clients to a point where we can manage millions of dollars profitably for them across 30 different industries and niches. Not only e-commerce, not only like one specific niche, but many, many wide range of niches, which is something I'm super proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there something that you sort of, I mean, talking about that, just so everybody knows, and obviously most people know you, but for the people that don't know you, what are the channels? What are somewhat of the strategy? What's the overall strategy that you focus on with your agency?
Yeah, like the overall strategy is we partner up with businesses that are already successful, doing $1 million+ a year, may that be e-com, may that be lead generation. We found that that's really the most important thing. Mm-hmm. It's really the client that we partner up with, not necessarily the niche or the industry. Mm-hmm. That's the realization I had. I thought that, we have success in home remodeling. Mm-hmm. Now my niche is home remodeling. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case. I realized like across different industries, we work with like the top experts in that vertical.
Yeah.
And our agency is really for hungry, successful entrepreneurs that really need a little bit that extra bump to scale them with Facebook, Google Ads through high converting funnels and landing pages.
It's amazing, man. And I know you have a very amazing offer for people, you might be wanting to start with Kos services, or you might be already using another agency for some services. So do you want to tell us about your offer?
Yeah, great question. We have the trade-in offer, and we also have an offer like, look, if you're listening to this, you're not really like a successful business owner yet, or you just want to get started. Everything that I've learned throughout my whole life, everything that I learned throughout my advertising career is here on YouTube for free to access. You can get through the course with the information alone. You can work for an advertising agency, you can work for any business that needs help with marketing, which is pretty much any business in the world. And you can earn between $50,000 to $100,000 while working online. This 100% for free. I'll leave a link in the description down below. That's for kind of beginners, starters. No need to opt in. Everything is safe, secure here on the YouTube platform. Right? There's no crazy pitch in the end. But if you're a genuine business owner and you want to take your business to the next level, let's say you want to scale from 1 to 5 million, from 5 to 25, then we've got a very special offer for you. Because one thing that I've realized is that all the clients that we work with, they already had multiple partners. They're already working with multiple agencies or an in-house specialist that kind of like does the job like so. And for those people, we have an amazing trade-in offer where you trade in your current partner, your agency, in-house person for our expertise and for our services. Plus, you get better terms, right? So if you're currently on a 6 or 12-month agreement, we do it month to month. We have performance guarantees in place, so you get better performance. And also you might have had a nasty experience in the past as well. And for that, we offer a free skydive on us to forget your experience with your current partner.
Jeez, man. I think I take you up on that skydiving experience. I've never actually been skydiving.
In Melbourne, it's amazing. It's really cool here. You'll
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for sharing, man. It's been
really appreciate it, Dean. Thank you so much for taking upon this offer of it's something that I really wanted to share, and something that I love doing, inspiring people, helping people on their digital marketing journey for both complete beginners as well as experienced business owners, and really appreciate you coming in and asking a few questions and navigating through the interview.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.